Got it.
Okay, we'll call the January solid waste meeting to order. Is the meeting properly announced?
Yes, it was.
Okay, roll call. Let the record show Bob Grabarski in for Jerry Baylor and Scott Pease in for Dan, Ken Bork. All other members present. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Motion to approve the minutes from December. Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public participation as we go. Has everybody had a chance to read the financial reports? And are there any questions?
Mr. Chair.
I just want to point out that not all of the final entries have been made. So this is reporting for December, but there's still a bunch of entries that need to be made to finalize the year out.
I got a question. Has the new prices taken effect yet? And what was the final outcome of what you're gonna do? Was it what they recommended, more or less?
So what we ended up doing was what they recommended for 2023. We took those rates exactly for 2023. For 2024, we're moving up their timeline. They laid out a 5-year timeline. We took their rates and compressed it to a 3-year timeline, just to kind of speed it along a little bit. So their 2025 rates are 24, their 27 rates are 25.
And I think last time you said that everyone was notified that.
Yep, we sent out to all the townships, we sent out to all the commercial customers, all the residential customers. We maybe lost one business, said they were gonna look. And I don't even know if they ever
They haven't.
actually
They have not canceled.
canceled, but we heard from one business that was just like, well, I'm gonna have to look around with these rate increases, but. We've already looked around and we know we're still competitive.
Has anyone decided to maybe go with the recycling and pick up at each house or no, any of the townships?
Like, have we seen an increase?
Right, I mean, did any of them show interest in that over having their sites?
Oh, individual townships, you're
Yeah.
saying? No,
No?
no. I've reached out to pretty much every township at some point, and the ones we have right now are the only ones that have shown interest. Preston has shown a little, like they kind of talked about it, shown a little interest. Quincy has also shown interest. I actually went and talked with them to their town meeting. It was kind of a mixed bag. There was some residents that were like, yeah, this would be great, and there were others that were like, no way, I don't want it. And that's really the last I heard. I followed up with them and asked kind of where they were at, and from what Ken really has said is that overall, they don't think they're full.
What do you think?
I continue on that, though, because I may be a little bit, have a misunderstanding. So let's say Preston said yes.
Yep.
That would eliminate the transfer site then.
I mean, the elimination of the transfer site is really up to the township. I mean, because we don't actually control the transfer sites at all. All we do is pick up the containers. So that's on them, but typically, yes, the municipalities that have gone with full municipality curbside pickup, they have eliminated their townships, their.
As a resident of Preston, I could choose to have containers, or on Saturdays, I could come here, but then I'm weighed. If I have regular trash, non-recyclable, garbage that goes in, I don't even know where it goes here. But my truck would be weighed, and then even if it's a little bag, it just, I would pay for that 10 pounds or 15 pounds or
It'll
whatever.
be, yeah, right now it's a $20
minimum.
Karen.
I got one more question. So is there any townships right now that just have recycling dumpsters, that's it? Because I know at one time the township I had.
Yeah, yeah, one of them does just have recycling. And that's all they do at their transfer site. I can't remember off the top of my head, which it might be Easton. Yeah, Town of Adams used to have a full, they got rid of their full transfer site when they signed on for like a contract service. And then Springville is the only township right now that doesn't have anything. They don't have a transfer site and they don't have any contracted services either. So if you're a resident of Springville, you're just on your own to figure out.
They
Either
gotta come here probably, I mean, or.
They can either come here or LRS is the other one in the area. So those are their options. But yeah, I think it might be East that just has, their transfer site doesn't take in any waste, just recycling.
So I want to ask, is this discussion now?
We're supposed to be discussing the financial reports or any questions if there are any. Any questions on that?
Well, that's what led into the others.
Okay, moving on, site report.
Alright. So year end is up. We ended up collecting 48,288 tons in 2022. That's 4,262 tons more than in 2021. We ended up collecting 4,094 tons of recycling in 2022, which is 112 tons more than 2021. Regular maintenance, well house. We're starting our clean sweep planning already. That is going to be the first Saturday of May, which is the 6th of May this year. Last year it was the first Saturday of June. We heard a lot of feedback, well, from our guys as well, that just being so close to Memorial Day, there was guys off that whole week and stuff like that, so. And the first Saturday of May is when we typically open our Saturday scheduling anyway, so we're just gonna correspond with that. And that is where we're gonna be keeping it then, kind of moving forward, is the first Saturday of May.
You know, there's a lot of farmers that bring in tires. Just so you know, that's probably not the best time of year. Why? They might be planting a crop, you know, you're still hungry? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't please everyone, like, there's gonna be people that are upset.
The ones that pay the bills.
So it's first Saturday of May, hopefully farmers can come for an hour and bring their tires.
I wasn't even in a cave.
Equipment, our AEC sprayers back up and running. Brand new engine went out on it, the Honda engine that came with it, so we had to send it to a new one. They shipped us a brand new one, the shipping damaged, so damaged in shipping, had to send that one back. They had to send us a new one again. Got it replaced, everything's good, and it's up in it's being used now, so. That was a long process of getting this fixed. All of it was covered under warranty, and none of it came out of our pocket, so.
Labor too.
Yeah, everything. Filling operations continue as normal, vertical expansion is still ongoing. The original timeline, when we first started out on this, was fall of 2023. Now it's looking like it's not gonna be probably till April or May of 2024. Then we're getting the concrete pile that's been building up for years and years and years out there. We're finally getting that ground up this year as well.
Will somebody take that?
No, we'll use it. We use it on site for roads and stuff like that. Yep. MRF operations. Only 9 outbound loads of recycling went out this month, just with the holidays, everything kind of slowing down. Didn't really send out, and with prices being pretty crappy still, we didn't send out a whole lot of recycling loads. We're still getting a decent number of employees out in Murph, so that's been good. And then we're getting the brush pile chipped within the next couple of weeks. And that's what we used to make our compost, so we're getting all that chipped out in the next couple of weeks to start the compost pile again.
And speaking of composting, again, I'm sorry if it's off topic, but the transfer sites, what do they do with that? Any idea?
That's
They're
kind
called,
of up to them.
burn it?
Yeah, most of them don't take brush. Most of the ones just don't take it. I mean, people might drop it off, but they don't.
I know Preston has one, north of the transfer site. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hauling operations, nothing's really changed. Just wanted to kind of make it public. The guys, we've been short staffed with holidays. We've had a couple trucks that were down, out. But they've been working super hard over the last couple of weeks, filling in, working late. Weather's been crappy, roads have been really, really crappy. But they've been doing awesome, so just wanted to put that out there. Nothing really to add, everything's kind of going along as it should. We've got a new truck coming, like June or July, probably. We got a double one, yeah, this was my truck.
I had a driver approach me, he said that in the city, they're having trouble getting down the alleys. Have you ever thought about in the winter time when there is a lot of snow to have them put it out front, so it's a lot easier for them to pick up?
It's not really a lot easier because they still plow those roads and they have to basically push them out to the road, and there's cars parked. The reason they're in the alley is because there's no driveway in the front, so there's no, and in the winter, there's no real place to put them, like there's no. Then cars can park along that entire roads, so there's no clear spot.
They're supposed to be opposites, but yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I
and
just thought it'd be easier for them to get at if they're out where they can get them, you know?
yeah, it probably maybe would be in some spots. I've been on the city trying to get them to help me keep those cleared. It's not the easiest working with the city. But we've been able to get it all so far, even that first kind of original snow, that was whatever the 8 inches we got. They were able to kind of make it work and collect everything. But having people move the cars back and forth is something I think I wanna kind of do. Like move them in front during these certain months and then move back to the alley during the other certain months. It's just, if it comes to that, I guess we can look at it, but right now I'm just gonna leave it.
So you're, couple things, the truck, you said you had a couple of them down, the older trucks, I would.
Yeah, some of the older ones. We had a rollover a couple months ago. I mean, the driver was fine, we didn't have any injuries. But that truck was out of service for a while, and we just got that one back. That one was that was probably our oldest one that we had. And then just some other maintenance stuff and things like that. So nothing major except for the one that had to roll, but now that's back as well. The arm, we had to send in one of our new ones for some arm work, automated arm that drops down. Wasn't working right. So we had to send that in and got that back. We're up, right now, we actually, as of today, we're back up to like full trucks.
So the arm that went down, then it collided with something, is that what you suggested?
No. This one didn't get in a wreck. It just wasn't working. It just
Was
wasn't.
that warranty?
And then. Oh, you're talking about positioning these dumpsters and so forth. Do you have any either close calls or accidents due to the dumpsters?
Like the
Those that are sitting on the road, I mean.
carts on the road.
On end down there, one morning I was going through and of course they stopped going uphill. So you got cars behind them and you sure as hell can't see what's coming from the other way. So I was just wondering if you had any issues.
We haven't yet. I mean, it is always just a risk, not just us, any garbage service going down county highways, picking up containers. And that's
the other thing I
why-
worry about it, you know, in town, that's no big deal, but there's speed limits and so forth.
Yep.
Highway 21 and 82.
82 is the one that really guys get most nervous on, is 82. And yeah, it is the risk, but that is one of that's the reason we went to the sidearm. At least, I mean, the guys aren't getting out. Before they used to have to get out, walk around every time.
Yeah.
And that, I didn't like, so it's safer, it's never gonna be 100%, but we haven't had anything yet. And they are required to drive with all their strobes on all the time. And I haven't heard anything that they aren't, so.
If a guy hits the back of a garbage truck at 60 miles an hour, he won't get it up.
Just need a bigger truck.
Well, the truck won't be there.
So that's all I got on the site report. It's a pretty, I mean, December is always a pretty quiet month. There's not really a whole lot going on. We're really dead in the office, coming across the scale. It's just slow time, so.
Any other
You
questions?
still pay them people then?
Forced it.
Oh,
That's my call.
Act, discuss landfill future phasing.
You got it up here, Charlie.
You
got it up here also.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna read it off here, but.
All right.
So yeah, the reason we have to talk about this is, kind of our timeline to the landfill has just increased. And, there's a couple reasons for that. We're gonna go over some of the reasons. We're gonna go over what the old timeline looked like, what the new timelines, there's a couple options that we need to decide on. So I guess we'll just get right into it. So yeah, so the timeline is sped up. Our filling sequences have just sped up. Some of the reasons. We've added about 1,000 new contracted households since 2021, so about a year and a half. We've added 1,000 new households, plus whatever all the new customers that we're kind of getting, new commercial people we've been getting. Every year we have more households and more commercials than we did the year before. The Leonard contract obviously has been a huge one. They've increased their waste by about 20% since 2019 to 2022. So in 3-4 years, they've the amount of waste that they have brought in just themselves. 2019, it was just under 16,000 tons. And at the end of this year, it was over 90,000 tons of garbage that they're bringing in alone. Lakeshore Recycling Systems, obviously we're all familiar with them. They have been buying up haulers from all over the area. They're essentially bringing all of their waste from this area to us. So they've actually increased by about 41% from 2019 to 2022. 2019 was about 5,800 tons. And at the end of this year is almost 10,000 tons. So they almost doubled their amount of tonnage that they've brought in. So them combined have brought in bring in about 66% of our total waste coming into the landfill comes from those two.
Does it make a difference what area it comes from, which county it comes from? So same.
I mean, we have limits with our agreement with Strong's Prairie,
Well, I understand now,
of how much out of county waste, but
but when you have LR.
all of this stuff is coming from essentially out of county.
I'm sorry, what?
Almost all of this stuff from Leonard and LRS is coming from out of county. Out of county municipalities. I mean, Leonard is all out of county. They're all Juneau County. Leonard is a lot of south of here, man.
I know you got,
Marquette, Columbia.
Oh, yeah, Marquette, Columbia,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, yes.
So it's coming from those areas.
Juneau County was across the.
Yeah. So our previous timeline, so it was supposed to be, hopefully our vertical expansion was supposed to get done around November of this year. construct phase 6 in either 2024 or early 2025. Phase 5 would be full by spring of 2025, possibly later, given that we're doing this vertical expansion. And then construct the new footprint, 29, 30, and then with vertical, phase 6 would be full around 2030. So that's kind of what we had been going off over these last couple of years.
You taking into account, I'm sorry,
Yeah, go
you're
ahead.
taking into account, you said they were up 61%. So is that gonna continue?
Well, that's what we're,
This previous timeline.
that's what we're gonna be going over.
Before this increase, so now with the increase, the timelines change.
Yeah, yeah, that increase is why we're having this. And so these numbers are all put together by Ayers Associates. They're our engineering firm that does the work for our site. And these numbers are based off of, typically, we are at about a 2 to 3% increase year over year. The last 2 or 3 years, we've been pushing 10% increase in waste every single year, which in waste capacity, that's a massive increase. All right, so our options. Option 1, we construct phase 6, which includes a partial cap of phases 3 and 4, and then we continue our permitting in 2023. So this year, we construct phase 6. And a lot of this is because we're not going to get done with our permitting for the vertical expansion by the end of 2023. So the cost for phase 6, the liner is 1.3 million to build the cell, plus about 180,000 in change orders. So essentially just the buffer money. We've got 176,000 worth of reporting and engineering work, which brings that total with a 15% increase just for anything extra again to about 1.9. And so that's the build phase 6. But we also have to cap phases 3 and 4. That construction cost is about $1 million with the oversight reporting being about 90,000. So that total is about 1.1 million. So our grand total in 2023 would be a little over $3 million. And the reason for the capping is because in our plan of ops, which our plan of operations is essentially the Bible for a landfill. It's written in the plan of ops, you have to follow the plan of ops. And it's written in there that we would have 3 and 4 completely capped before we build cell 6. Like that's, they call it the phasing sequence. And the DNR is very strict on keeping the phasing sequence that was laid out. So we can't build, so they are actually giving us a little bit of a break with this option because technically you have to cap all of 3 and 4, but they are just making us cap the sides of 3 and 4 and not the top, since we are in the middle of getting that approval when we're gonna add waste to the top. If they wanted to be sticklers about it, they could make us cap that top, then next year we would just have to pull it right back off again. Once we get that vertical, but they're letting us, that's kind of their compromise, I guess. Because we did ask them if we could get a temporary allowance to place waste up on top, even though the approval isn't done yet, and they said they're not gonna allow that. So this was kind of their compromise for that.
Are you,
I'm sorry. The coffer, or there's money in the coffer for capping, this isn't there?
For final capping, not for this capping. Final capping is when we get to the end, there is possibly money. When we get done with phase 6, they call it final capping. That's when you're closing the landfill completely. There's money for that, not for just capping a cell.
Really?
It's final closure and long-term care. So the final closure is when the landfill, your current footprint is done. There's no more open cells.
How much money is in there for that? Do you remember?
Close to 2 million.
When do we say that this is too much and start saying we don't want to contract with other counties?
And well, that's one of the slides on here. I mean, that is an option that we'll go to. So maybe we'll just go through. Okay, I come back to that.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So this updated timeline for option one, 2023 is what I just went over. Construct phase 6, cap the side slopes of 3 and 4, about $3 million. 2024, our vertical expansion gets approved. We start filling vertically. 2027, we have to put the final cap. So the cap over the top of the vertical expansion areas.
That's already money in the account for that 1.5 million. 'Cause he said there's two. You
No.
said final cap though.
Sorry, maybe my wording is not right. So there's final cap for these phases is different than the final closure.
Got it, all right.
So 2027, and really beyond this year, these numbers are just very high-end rough estimates. So this year, that 3 million is pretty good. Like we actually got updated numbers for that. But anything really beyond that is just kind of assuming what prices are gonna be 3, 4, or 5 years down the line. But that's about 1.5 million. 2028, we need to begin construction on a new landfill footprint. That's gonna be probably around $5 million. 2029, that's when we can put the final cap on phases 5 and 6, and that's when we could possibly dip into that final closure money. But even that, there's gonna be some gray area. If we have a new footprint, then the DNR can say, well, you're not actually closing your entire landfill facilities, this money still isn't available to you. That's kind of a gray area. So yeah, like I said, that's because 3 and 4 need to be capped before the construction of phase 6. So Kyle, if you want to go over this next one.
Yep.
Kind of what the,
So from that previous timeline that we were talking about, the financing need would be roughly $10.1 million. So we need to issue debt for this. We don't have the funds available to cover this. So we'd have to issue debt for $3.1 million in 2023. And assuming an average interest rate of 3.5%, payments over 20 years, the payments would be roughly about $250,000 in 2024. So we've had an issuance there for that $3 million. So total principal and interest payments would equal just over $4 million over the life of the debt, and that's a 20-year life on the debt. And we'd have to issue debt again for roughly $7 million in 2027. Average interest rate, again, 3.5% at 20-year life. And the payments would be roughly $550,000 by 2028.
Is that 3.5%, that fixed?
Well,
Will
so
it be fixed?
what's that?
Will it be fixed?
No, it depends on how the bids come in when you actually go out to issue the debt. So there's principal payments that are due. And they say, okay, this principal payment is 3.5%, this one is 3.25, this one is. So they calculate the interest based off of each principal. So the total annual debt payments beginning in 2028, if we were to issue debt for both years, would be roughly $800,000 starting in 2028. That's the first option that we were discussing.
all right, so option 2, we continue to pursue the vertical expansion, permitting without constructing phase 6. So basically, we don't do anything in 2023. We just essentially hope we don't run out of room with our current filling before the vertical expansion gets approved. So cons of this. So this timeline of our getting our permitting approved, this comes right from the DNR. They're the ones that told us it's probably not gonna be done until May 2024. They are completely backlogged, they are short-staffed. That's just kind of how things work with them right now. At our current fill rates, unsure if we would make it that far without running out of space. And like I said before, the DNR has already told us they are not going to grant approval to place waste vertically before the permitting process is complete. If this situation kind of comes up, we would have to, I mean, the possibility would be there to shut our gates until we get the vertical expansion approved.
So where would they go?
I think we couldn't help them. They have to probably go to Wisconsin Rapids, the Green Bay 3 landfill.
Would you see the,
Probably commercial hauls, commercial hauls. So Lenarude, LRS, all the other small, and we would have to just make it blanket. We couldn't pick and choose which commercial haulers. So even ones that are hauling county waste, we have to tell them no. We would still try to keep our own operations running and have it open for residents to bring in their stuff.
So you're talking about garbage pickup and all the contracts you got, City of Adams, that you're
Yeah,
working.
that would have to
all-
stay. I mean, we would have to keep that going. And in worst case scenario, we went out completely, we would still have to keep operations going. We would have to try it somewhere else. Because we can't shut off our services for our own residents. So, the pros obviously would just be, we would not have the $3 million project 2023 and to kind of push everything back to 2024. Maybe 2025, maybe 2026, depending on how slow or how much additional time frame the vertical expansion gives us by placing waste on top of what we already have. And then again, we just don't know where pricing is gonna be either. So that $3 million this year might be 3.5 for another 2 years. I just don't know. So that timeline roughly would look like this. It would be, so 2023, we would just do nothing. 2024, by May, we would get the vertical expansion approved, start filling vertically. But then we would have to cap the side slopes of phases 3 and 4. So about 1.2. 2026 is when we could put off constructing phase 6. So the phase we're talking in option 1 of constructing in 2023. If we make it to the vertical, that could probably get pushed back until 2026. And then place the final on top of phases 3, 4, and all of 5, or the side slopes of 5. So roughly 3.5 million. 2028, we'd have to begin construction on a new footprint, which again is about 5 million. And then 2029, final cap on top of phase 5, phase 6 for about 2. So the end of the timeline is about the same. It's just these next kind of 3 to 4 years is where stuff is going to be different.
So the total financing need would be about 11.75 million. So we could potentially use $1.25 million of fund balance in 2024 for 3 and 4 side slope capping. And then I say potentially because we don't have the funds. We'd have to figure out how we would potentially be able to use that fund balance. But I don't foresee that we'd be able to do that. And then for sure, we would have to issue debt in 2026 for the $3.5 million. Again, average interest rate of 3.5%, 20-year life on the debt. Payments would come out to roughly $270,000 beginning in 2027. Total principal and interest for that issuance would be $4.7 million. Then we'd have to issue debt again in 2028, so just 2 years later for $7 million. An average interest rate of 3.5%, 20 years. Payments would be about $550,000 starting in 2029. So total principal and interest payments would be about $9.4 million.
Well, I thought that $2 million cap, final cap, money is set aside, so why would we need 7?
Yep, so that
$2 million cap at the end, you said the final cap.
$2 million.
I don't know if we want to make that assumption of just like that far out. It's probably safer just plan to have to fund it.
Yeah.
Because there is that, I mean, there's wording with the DNR that if we still have an active landfill, then we're not final close. Like, we just
And we-
switch footprints.
We need to have to set aside that money
They
for.
won't let
for
you
a
use
new
it
footprint.
until that time.
Yeah, because that money would then before, they would consider that for final closure of your current footprint then.
Got it. Right.
Yep, so total payments beginning in 2029 would be about $825,000 a year. And these are all rough numbers.
What would be agreeable, I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, I'm sorry, that's a trash question. On this option number 2, what would be the agreeability at all if they said, okay, once a month, you've got to go to Cranberry Fill or whatever. You can come to us 3 weeks or 3 times 3 weeks out of the month, and 1 week you gotta go.
I don't know, I honestly don't know.
So hold our,
I mean,
No.
Leonard, we have a contract, so I haven't really looked into what that would entail. I know there's language in there that we can shut them off if we are in risk of DNR compliance.
well, that looks like option 3 anyway, so I'm sorry.
So-
I brought that up a little bit.
Yeah, so option 3 is, we essentially reduce the intake volumes coming in. Like I said before, Leonard and LRS, they bring in about 66 or 2/3 of our total waste. So the pros right away, obviously, and I didn't create a timeline for this because if this was an option we went to, it would essentially put a halt on all of our time. Like we would slow down to almost nothing. Like we, Leonard on their own have brought in about $855,000 in revenue in 2022. If we stop taking their waste, we would lose that revenue, but also the cost to operate the landfill is the exact same. We're not saving money because of the less waste coming in. We still have the same equipment, the same employees, the same hours worked. So we're not, it's a tough sell. And their contract is up in August, so their gate rate is actually, it's gonna go up from what they're paying now. So that revenue is gonna increase even more come August or September of 2023.
I'm sorry, but it's almost hard for me to believe that if they understand what we are facing, they would not be willing to negotiate, because it's gotta be a lot better to bring their trash here than it is any other place, otherwise they might have done that already. I don't know.
I guess, what do you mean negotiate? Negotiate.
Well, the fact of what we are facing ourselves and notifying them and saying, look, we gotta have a little bit of a, one hand washes the other. Because I can't believe that if we just told them, okay, fine, landfills, we've got to turn you guys away now. It would be probably double what they're paying now to go to farther reaches. to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no, I mean, he would have to travel, his trucking costs would go up a ton and his tipping fees would go up.
That's what I'm saying, so I guess.
He's already seeing that with the recycling,
Yeah,
you know.
he worked out an agreement with Columbia, so he's got about the same. I mean, maybe Brent can be kind of bullheaded that way. That he'll take it somewhere just out of spite, which, I mean, if that's the option that you guys kind of decide to do, then we'll deal with it. And we'll figure it out.
You're saying that your operational costs would not be cut. Or would be virtually the same. But your expansion need would be affected.
Yeah, yep, yeah, so that's the pro, that we wouldn't have to worry about expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, the vertical expansion would take 4, 5, 6 more years to fill up all of it before we'd have to then build cell 6, and then it would take years, another 5, 6, 7 years to fill up cell 6.
Let me follow up a little bit on that. So dollars that are coming in, the revenue that we're taking in, and now we're talking about $10 million expansion. Is that pencil? Have we penciled that out? That, I'm sorry. Something I said?
No.
So anyway, if we're gonna expand this thing, and we're gonna spend, tens of millions or $10 million, just round numbers, then the numbers should dictate that we can afford to do that and that we're gonna take in the revenue. Now,
And I don't know if we ever really will take in revenue to like completely,
okay, that's gonna bring on another question that sticks in my craw with this, probably a lot. This consulting firm, did they touch on that? I mean, all we heard was that, we're gonna raise the rate. Well, I mean, that doesn't take $80,000 to figure that out.
well, that,
So what else are they doing? What else did they?
well, they were hired to do a rate study. That's what they were hired.
They did do.
That was not the
the
total intent.
Right, exactly. I agree.
I mean, that's done, like, there's no need to like rehash that. I mean, they submitted their proposal, everybody had the opportunity to read their proposal, and it laid out exactly in their proposal what they were gonna do.
You're being critical of a board that it's not our job to read that stuff. It's. up
No,
to
and
you
I
guys.
did know, I knew what we were, and maybe there was miscommunication between, I guess, what you guys expected and what I
Yeah.
guess we expected.
Yeah.
Because
But I mean, this stuff here, to me, this is pretty simple math. If it pencils and we can afford to spend $10 million.
and they did build in their rate study for the next, I mean, they only look 5 years out. Our big dollars are 7, 8, 9 years out, so they didn't look that far out to build in rates. They did a 5-year plan to get us into the positive right now, not real, and I mean, and they did build in for future stuff, but only if it was within the next like 5 years. So the rates that they did put together were that, like they did put together for what the time frame they were looking at, but they didn't look into.
Those rates will never cover $10 million.
No,
But
they're not.
that's not wording I need. I mean,
Exactly.
somehow you're gonna have to show us that, I mean, why would we want to expand this thing if we never, it's gonna continue to be a loss?
No, I don't, I actually agree with you, like, I don't know what the right answer is. No, I do agree with you, like,
The right answer is number 3.
Who's option 4?
Well, that's option 4, okay.
Well, I'm all with
I don't have any idea, but there's something electronic.
It's something smoking device.
that.
yeah, I mean, if option 3 is the way, then. I guess we just need to decide. And I guess maybe Kyle can speak how much of the landfill. I guess supplements some of the other operations stuff that the department does.
Well, there's so many different ways to look at it. I mean, right now, the taxpayers of Adams County are funding the losses.
Yeah,
And whether they're bringing their garbage here or if it's going somewhere else, that's not the issue. The issue is they're gonna help pay for this, whether their township is a part of it or not.
Right.
So, in theory, and this was a promise from when it was started, that this thing was gonna be self-sufficient. And so far, we're a little lacking in that department.
yeah, and that's been my, I guess, what I've been trying to get across as well, is that we need to, that's why we can hopefully make a decision, because we need to make a decision on this. I honestly, I don't, I mean, if we want to keep the landfill going, I think we need to build this year, like Like, if we are debating between 1 and 2, it's really risky to not build this year because of how fast it's going.
Even with option 3, you're talking?
No, I'm saying if we're only debating between 1 and 2, my opinion would be option 1, because it's very risky to just hope we make it until this vertical expansion is approved.
I'm gonna do a little, has anybody seen the news about this 9 billion or whatever surplus is coming to the counties now from the governor? It's been announced in the last 2 days that the surplus is $9 billion coming.
We used that up last night.
It's all done already.
Even
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, has anybody heard that? I mean, have you been watching that? That announcement was made on the news channels, I think Monday evening. And that there's a program now being done because of that surplus into the county. So I don't know if somebody can start looking at that knows more about it than I do. And find out whether, what does that mean? What does that money mean? Is that gonna be like the money that we were given? What's that money called that we've spent already?
ARPA.
ARPA funds, stuff like that. So
It's gonna eliminate all property taxes.
Yeah.
my thing is, why throw 10 million, if it had that money, why throw $10 million at it?
If we're never.
We're
gonna
still
get
in,
10 million.
yeah, right, if we're not gonna get that money back, it's throwing good money at bad money or whatever you wanna say.
And the way, so I've been around for a couple different companies for like about 12 years now in solid waste. And you don't really see an operation like us, like Adams County, where there's a MRF, there's a fully operational landfill and a fully operational collections. Especially at a county level. You don't even see that as a small business, like a privately owned small business, where they operate at such a small scale in a small area. Like, we don't really have the means to expand our operations of haul. Like, that means more trucks, more guys, which we can barely hire now. To get the routes, like, how do you justify buying more trucks and hiring guys if you don't even have the customers yet? But you can't really get the customers before you have that stuff, like. So for us to expand our collections is very, very difficult. That's why that's why all these like small haulers, they don't really exist anymore. They've all been bought out. I mean, Town and Country, Clark Disposal, Badgerland. There's essentially 3 or 4 major haulers in the entire state. It's Green for Life, it's Harder's, it's LRS, and Waste Management. No, the other doesn't exist, not for hauling.
So you're looking for a decision.
I mean, we need to move forward with it. So yes, we do need a decision of some kind.
Well, I guess I need a motion.
Somebody has to show me where. How it pencil.
And I don't know, I mean, just something else we would need to look into. If option 3 is a way we want to go, which that's fine. I mean, there's gonna be some big drawbacks to that. I don't know how you tell, I'm just asking because I honestly have no clue how you tell a hauler they can't come in. Like, I don't know what the legality is of that, of telling a LRS, you can't come here anymore. Like, I don't.
Well, I would assume whoever's written the contract is gonna.
Well, there is no contract with LRS. LRS is just, they just bring all their stuff here.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, so in that cost of service study, we bumped the timeline up from the 5 years down to the 3 years, and then we also did a 10-year outlook with, was it 3% increases every single year is kind of what we. So we use theirs as a roadmap to come up with a 10-year rate structure. And then back to this discussion, there is that ordinance in place, well, that says waste generated here has to come here. So it kind of be on the same lines, how do we do that? How do we tell a hauler they can't come here? But our
They
ordinance.
can only
say
bring
they have.
garbage from Adams County here.
Yeah, and then that's where a lot of the
Not from
waste is
across
coming
the
from.
river.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Why aren't we charging them double what we are now?
Out of county?
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, that is an option. Again, I don't,
I mean, if we're gonna spend 10 million, it's gotta come from somewhere.
yeah. I mean, I think it's tricky with people like like, let's say LRS, they collect a lot from income. Like, they do collect a lot of income. They have the whole municipality of Del Prairie. They have some Wisconsin Dells, on the north side of Wisconsin Dells that is Adams County. So now they're collecting on the same route, they're collecting out of county and in county. How are we differentiating what we're charging them double for?
How would our own county residents feel if we had to shut down the dump? Where would we then take our stuff?
I mean, you'd have to contract with an LRS, with the waste management, and they would figure out.
And
a
like
way
guys
to-
were saying,
You'd have to contract with a private hauler.
They should be paying,
well,
like they should be paying right now.
An LRS is actually, they're actually, what we offer for our $38 a month, LRS is cheaper than us, actually. So our rates for our pickup are relatively high for industry standard, but that mostly speaks to our scale. I mean, waste management can charge pretty cheap for residential because they're ginormous, like they, so they can keep prices low because they have the volume.
So I'm paying about $12 a month.
Well, you're contracted. And that's, well, the municipalities that contract with us are paying that as well. Our contracted rates are right in line with what LRS charges. So City of Adams, they're paying probably, $10 a month per resident. Town of Adams, they're about 18, 16,
It was like 15, 50,
Yeah.
16.
15, $16 a household. But that's when you do a contract. If you're just doing individual, then it's 38 for the exact same service. And we can't go any lower than that. So that's what I'm saying with the scale, we're very, very small, and to try to operate as essentially as a small business, like we're not really supposed to operate as a county entity. We're supposed to operate as our own independent, like small
Well,
business.
I know somebody in Marquette, it's like. They're really happy that they're not being overcharged. And, you know, I look at it like, why the hell aren't they paying more? You know, Marquette.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
did you run option 3 passport council?
I have not. No, I haven't talked to him.
well, maybe we should table this until you do.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I'm feeling the same way because I'm sorry, I can't make a motion. I cannot, under the information that I've been provided, I cannot make a motion. On
And that-
either 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, and that is fine. I just want some direction, kind of where to look. And because if we do decide to build, my biggest thing is if we decide to build a Stella 23, we have to move, like.
Go to option 1, not the timeline, the next frame, there it is. No. Yeah,
Options.
So you built in the 15% and
So the 15% is just for overages, I mean, just
Yep.
random stuff, and then the change orders is just if you have to have a design change along the way.
well, that actually. Seemed like one or the other. It would seem like
And these are numbers I got from the engineering firm, so I don't know exactly how they lay out. I asked them to put together what it would cost to build in 2023. That's what they gave. Okay.
either I wasn't paying attention, I'm sorry, but Kyle, you said that you had a 10-year forecast. Where did it show? I didn't hear an answer at the end of the 10 years. What did it look like?
Yep, that was one that we brought to the committee, what was it, November? I think it was in November that we brought it to the committee, and we had New Gen's suggested rates, and then we consolidated that down to 3 years, and then we went out 10.
10. So what does it look like? Is it paid for after 10?
I mean, bottom line is we're still not gonna cover this amount.
Yeah, even in New Gen's cost of service analysis,
If
they
we
didn't
increase
have
the
us
rates.
breaking even until year 5, I think.
Understand, that's what we're talking about. If we, has anybody done that with option 1, option 2, option 3, are we smart enough to do that with the information that we have gotten
Yeah.
from NewGen? Can somebody in our government figure this out? That it's gonna take now, if we did option 1, after 20 years, we're making money. After 15 years, we're making money. Option 3, after 10 years, we're making money, or whatever. I think that we need somebody that is not me to be able to figure that out.
Yep.
So are you capable of doing that? Do you have the
Yeah, it's something that we could do.
in a very, very short period of time, not something that's gonna be a 6-month project? And I'm being nasty when I'm saying that, but something on a quicker basis, where you could come in the next meeting or the next meeting. Now, look, guys, we do option 1, this is paid for, option 2, this is paid for, option 3, this is paid for.
Yeah, it's something we could potentially do.
And I understand that then somebody could get pissed at LRS or the other guys and say, we're going someplace else. And that screws up the whole pattern. But I have to believe a businessman, stubborn or not, faced with this situation, hey, guys, we gotta shut our gates. Oh, no, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
mean,
And quite honestly, this is what you're bringing up. We're under the impression that the consulting firm is going to do that.
not with the seller.
I don't mean to be kicking a dead
That's what I'm
horse.
saying, but the solid waste committee, I don't think, they never expressed anything to us that that's what they were expecting. Because this is all specific just to landfill. Like, so our rates, I mean, if we're being very honest, if we just operated the landfill and maybe like the MRF, we would be fine, like our rates would. It's our collections is very hard to do because we're very close to already pricing ourselves out of what the other local haulers are.
I think it's just gonna take one heck of a. I don't care how you put the numbers together, option 3, I just can't see you spending $10 million and recouping that, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, something could happen, whatever, but it'd be very, very hard.
No, I lean on your side. I don't see either of the options where we're actually like recouping this money. So is it something where we keep losing money, but we provide the service? Or do we completely slow everything down? But then we're just not making any money either. Like, we're not making almost $1 million as well. Like then,
You shut it down and what you're gonna see is a lot more alongside roads
Right,
oh yeah,
Sure.
up in some of our country.
people burning
We
shit.
got
90
refrigerators and tires and stuff getting dumped out of woods now, and it's only gonna get worse. If you shut it down.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I'm sorry, who motion?
Yeah, who- Right,
Jerry.
yeah, sure.
so what do you guys want?
And in the meantime, check out the legal options. Legalities of going with option 3
Do you still want
and his numbers.
numbers? Okay.
Are we looking at, I guess, what do you want me to look into? Completely,
Find out if we even can do option 3.
I know, but are you guys saying in option 3 limiting?
Well,
And
I
then how are
think
we choosing? I mean,
you'd have to
yes,
limit it, at least LRS, if they're getting taking our garbage from our county. I mean, you know, giving them so much tonnage to take our garbage to our landfill.
yeah, and maybe there's just more questions for Jeff. I'm just questioning, how can we pick and choose who gets to come here and who doesn't?
You can't do nothing with Leonard until the new contract.
August anyways.
And,
They're
yeah,
locked in.
yeah, and there might be language in there. Like I said, there's stuff that we can shut them off, just like we were able to shut off their recycling. If we're pushing DNR compliance, or there might even be, because it's like in the best interest of the county language in there. But I'm saying, even all the other just contracted haulers, maybe they don't bring in hardly anything, but how are we picking and choosing this contracted hauler versus this one? And I just don't know, or commercial hauler, I keep saying contract, sorry, commercial hauler, how are we picking and choosing?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And no, she's here.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to table, and I just want to add something that the way I'm understanding this, I think we should come back, if tabling is where we're going, come back with all three options with a timeline that shoots out 20 years to say where we are with all three options so that you can properly weigh. And so that will take into consideration our corporation counsel's opinion on option 3. And so you'll have a clearer picture, I suppose, if we come back with a timeline that shoots out pretty far out. And maybe at a point that it breaks even, because that break even, that we're good, right? If we break even and we know that then carries itself forward, but that's what I'm hearing. So I think that, and I believe that is something we can do internally. I do have faith in us being able to put some numbers together and then also talk to corporation counsel with the contract parameters here on option 3. Is that-
Hear that?
Absolutely.
But he was shaking his head no.
From a landfill filling perspective, I don't know how there's always gonna be expansion and capping and like, we're never gonna be able to plan out 20 years to know how much that's gonna be and when it's gonna be. Like, we can talk to engineers, they're gonna have no clue how to sequence out a landfill 20 years out.
But if you're able to get the new landfill done,
But that's when we don't have any idea how big the new landfill is gonna be. But we just don't know that yet, because we're not that far in our
Take
process.
over Bob's farm.
Mr. Chair, I think there might be an option 4, hate to say it. Maybe I don't have to say it, maybe you can read my mind, but there could be an option 4. Anyway, I'm not gonna say it. Mm-mm.
We pursued a contract with LRS. Let's pursue,
What do you?
get them on contract like we do with Leonard.
Oh, they never will, because they're, LRS is massive. I mean, they're the 5th biggest hauler in the US right now. They're not gonna sign a contract with us that's like this tiny little landfill. I mean, we can ask them, but I mean, I can't ask them. But that's what I'm saying, that's what we have to look, that's what we're gonna look into. How can we tell a private commercial hauler, one commercial hauler, they can't come here, but others they can. I just don't know.
contracts with our other guys.
Huh?
We have contracts with our other haulers.
Just one.
Well, that's,
Give them that option.
And you can reduce 5%.
But the contract is for, we're gonna get, I mean, typically contracts are for massive amounts of waste and then for a cheaper price as well. And for us, LRS brings in a lot of, they bring in whatever, 5,000 tons, whatever, 10,000 tons. In terms of what they haul, that's not. But I can reach out. Okay.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. Okay. Number 10. Next step in the Signature Farms land use.
So based off what we talked about last month, the solid waste committee gave me direction that they are comfortable at a starting point of around 250 to 275 an acre, and then kind of negotiating from there. They came in, so they were paying 185 an acre previously. This is Signature Farms for the 199 acres that we have. They came in at like 210. I came in at 265. We negotiated to the 231. So that's kind of the rate that we have the lease kind of drafted right now. So I'm just looking for approval.
What's the current rate, I'm sorry?
185. So a 20% increase over what they're current.
I did some background work on this. One of the growers on the potato year is paying $525 an acre. On the potato year, taking it 1 out of 3 years. When they're doing a 3-year, they're paying $375. The culprit comes in here is who owns those systems. Well, now just hold on.
Okay, yeah, go
The
ahead.
contract
Yeah.
expired a hell of a long time ago. And furthermore, now here's another thing with this grower. They
Contract
want,
expired in November.
they
Just
want,
expired.
they want systems that are no older than 15 to 17 years. In other words, if they're growing potatoes, they don't want trouble with some irrigation systems. The one down by the highway is not in good shape. I'll just say that. They did some work on it this last year, but it doesn't meet the standards anymore. I don't know about this one. I drove up there tonight and it's in such a spot I couldn't get a look at it. I don't know if that was a used system or a new system. But my guess is it probably when it used, don't know that you, where did you? Okay, so having said that, if you go back far enough, when irrigation, well, it wasn't starting, it was already well in existence, but they would, irrigator would go in, put the system, the wells and everything in, and rent it for a reduced amount for 10 years, and then the farmer or the landowner owned the system. This particular thing here, everybody's gonna want to own those systems and try and grow spuds and stuff. This amount is way under what Signature Farms has done as far as the acres. That's generous. Oh, I got the maps and stuff, and I can't come up with 199 acres.
They said the actual amount is about 185. That's
That's
what they-
irrigated,
That's the irrigated.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even with the rest of it, it's like 196.
Yeah.
I can come up with that much.
Yeah, no, they mentioned that, the
Yeah.
acreage doesn't match exactly.
Yeah.
But they are fine just leaving it.
So that, I mean, credit them for that, I will. But as far as the rest of it, they're way under. And there are irrigators around here that would pay much more than this, depending on who owns the system. And I'm gonna ask this. Who carries the insurance on the system itself, not the liability, but the system itself?
I don't think we have anything to do.
I didn't see it in
I don't
this
think we have
contract.
anything to do.
And I don't think the county is carrying it, and that, and the way this reads, they're not carrying it either. If they are, then it's not referred to.
Could they come back and do if that system broke down and you lost your copy because of it?
No.
That's in county. They're on the. And they also have maintenance stuff. And that's one of the reasons why your systems, you won't have to use the maintenance. There's nothing worse than having the system quarter the way around or halfway around. And you have to go make which side.
So part of this, part of the, I guess the reason why I would be, and honestly, I don't know. So this is not my, this is
Yeah,
not
I
my
understand.
forte.
But it's
In
fine.
3 years, that's where the landfill's gonna go. So we really only have about 3 years, and then we're gonna be digging.
You have 420 acres on this side, 80 acres down there. We can't figure out where to put a site without taking away something that is in there.
And this is, again, this is just off of what our engineer recommended. That's the best spot, it's the most cost-effective spot to build the landfill. It's got the buffers of how far away. You can't build a landfill close to your property line, right? Like there's buffers you have to keep.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, I
because-
understand that, part. I mean, we're right out here. We've got a lot of woods here.
Yeah.
I won't say a lot, you've got woods, yeah. That you,
Yeah, and that can be something we can look into. I'm just going off with where the engineers recommend that our next footprint is.
I don't blame them for that. They don't have to do it. They can just go out there and-
Well,
You know
they're trying to make it most cost effective for
Do you know
us.
these people? Would you be able to negotiate a better price, or is that not your job?
That's not my, and besides, I'm competitive. You know, I farm. And that's why I hated before, I hated to come to you and say, what, these are the prices, but yet somebody else. And it pretty much takes me out of the scenario. And we rent. I'd love to rent this. I rent it for a hell of a lot of work like this. So, and there's other irrigated right across the road. They're all over. This should have been bid. I'm getting more scared.
Well,
No, there ain't no contract saying.
no, however, are you able to do that as a board, as a district supervisor? Are you able, would you be able to bid on this without having a,
Our farm. Not so.
all right, then you gotta tell them, we're gonna go out to bid. We're just not there yet. We're just not there yet.
And that's fine, I'll tell them whatever. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, so.
I'll make a motion that we go back to Signature Farms, tell them that decided that it's not enough money. And we're gonna put it out on bids. Most of the paper, the actual bid process.
But we need, I guess, Jeff, legal, to look at that contract to see what the actual. Because there's stuff we need to figure out first on who owns what, who.
Well, that part. Yes.
Because that's gonna change what if the bid prices would be, wouldn't it? I don't know.
Because this is recorded and stuff, I gotta watch my tongue. But it's hard to do. I do not believe that those systems are gonna go anywhere. I don't know why they. They're having to be off on their own. One of them. I can't speak for this one here.
So you're saying they could take that? They could
I'm
come
not
in,
saying that. What I'm saying is I don't know if that was a new system. Yeah.
but could they come in and take that?
I don't believe so anymore, because the way these contracts are written now, there are no reference to those systems, other than.
Well, the well, pumping well ain't going here. That's there.
Originally, they could have pulled the turbines out of that.
Yeah, they got full pump.
And be left with a hole in the ground
Right.
with liability. I don't believe they can do that. I don't believe they can take the systems from what I read here.
Okay, so what do we have in the motion?
Well, basically, where he said, take it back to bids.
Well, but we have to have this looked at by court counsel.
That's all part of the process.
It is part of the process
I would say.
of the motion.
Yes.
I second.
Motion and second to put it out for bid.
I will recuse myself from.
So we better not have a tie.
You can.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the one abstention. Okay. Commercial hauling permit ordinance.
Touch on, no, I'll touch on something else. You guys. Now, we're short of money, and again, we talked about new place for sales and so on. Have you ever considered selling that land? Originally, this land. Well, this land was. Well, 500,000. Right now. That work land, the ag land, you can sell it for $1 million like a dam. I mean, that'd be pretty simple in today's world. You get it, and you'd still have your 400 and, well, whatever, that's left. And if you would have your buffer or not, that would be something to consider. All I'm saying is,
The buffer part we could get by, it's the more private land you have in a certain area, then you have to start paying for groundwater testing and different things like that. So they just, from a landfill perspective, I would never want to sell land, I would want to buy more to like increase our buffer around us.
well, and I can appreciate that, but I just thought, there's something that we probably should at least,
Explore.
yeah, good word. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if that's something that no one would consider, so what? Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then there's a couple other things in this. Talks about picking ruts. That doesn't, in here, that was a long time ago. All started. Shit. So, that's another, it said here, we have to give them permission that they put in 2 wells. Why? I mean, why would they want to, you know, you got, you ask the 1,100 gallons a minute, most likely. I don't know why it's even in there anymore.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll be quiet.
Where's your weight right now?
So put it out for bid and consider changing the leaves altogether.
Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry, Rocky, but one other thing is cost of new systems. I didn't touch on that. But like this system on here, and it's got a corner arm. Does it? Do you know?
No, I don't think so. It's straight.
The one by the road, like one.
No, one out here. On this place.
Yeah, I think it does it.
It wouldn't surprise me. but
Yeah.
You're looking at brand new, 175 grand. One out by the road, it'd be quite a bit different, but that's only 60 acres of irrigable land, I didn't say. But,
Yeah.
that would be a little less. Well, it'd be a lot less. It'd probably be under 100 on the house. And that's brand new.
Yeah.
So, you know what I know. I'm done.
What's this commercial hauler permit?
I don't have an update because I never did that. Yeah, that's what we talked about last month. There's that ordinance that was from when the solid waste first started. And it's, I don't know if it's necessary or why it's there or what. So I was gonna look into kind of what it entails, kind of modify or change or do whatever with an ordinance. And I had a difficult time connecting with Jeff last month. So I don't have an update. All right, that's that.
So next, project status report.
2022 are done.
Wait.
I added the 2023.
Hmm?
Huh?
Oh, you just-
Sorry.
You did. I added the 2023. We don't have a whole lot going on in 2023. We got the grinding of concrete pile. We're purchasing a new shop heater and installing a waste oil heater. It's been a lot of years since the shop really had any kind of heat, so it'd be nice to have it. I'm gonna go through the solid waste ordinances just kind of throughout the year, just update them. I don't know the last time they've been updated, there's just some language in there that doesn't apply anymore. So that's not gonna cost anything, it's my time. And then we got the truck, the split body truck, which that won't be here till May or maybe June, something like July. So that's it. So,
Okay.
nothing.
Upcoming agenda items.
You said add something on the agenda. I don't know if you caught that. What did you just say about 2 lines ago to add something on the agenda?
Oh,
No, you had said just 2 lines ago, you said add that on the agenda.
Looking into selling. Something like
Next meeting, February 14th, Valentine's Day. 5 p.m. here. Meeting's adjourned. Stop recording.